On October 29th, 2025, the history of the human race changed forever, and almost nobody noticed. While the news cycle on Earth was consumed by geopolitical tensions and economic shifts, a silent alarm was triggered in the control rooms of the world's most advanced space agencies. The event took place 147 million kilometers away, in the blinding glare of our own star. The interstellar object known to the public as 3I Atlas reached its perihelion. And in that fraction of a cosmic second, it did something that defies every law of natural astrophysics. It spoke. This is not a metaphor. This is not a poetic interpretation of data. This is the reality that astronomers are currently whispering about in encrypted channels, terrified of the panic that the truth would cause. When 3I Atlas grazed the solar atmosphere, it did not just heat up, it did not just release gas. It transmitted a coherent, high-frequency radio burst directed precisely away from Earth, targeting a sector of deep space in the Cygnus Lyra region. The burst lasted 7 seconds. 7 seconds that have rendered decades of SETI research obsolete. For years, we have been looking for accidental leakage, radio waves from alien TV shows, radar pings, the noise of civilization. We assumed they would be messy. We were wrong. The signal from 3I Atlas was a weaponized beam of information. It pierced through the solar interference, the chaotic noise of our sun, like a laser cutting through smoke. To achieve that kind of signal clarity against the background roar of a star requires technology that is millions of years ahead of our own. It requires an understanding of signal modulation and energy shielding that we can barely comprehend. NASA immediately attempted to scrub the data from public servers. The Solar Dynamics Observatory feed went offline for emergency maintenance just minutes after the event, but they were too late. Amateur radio astronomers in Chile and Australia monitoring the solar frequencies had already captured the anomaly. They saw the spike. They saw the pattern. It wasn't random noise. It was a sequence of prime integers embedded in a carrier wave, repeating 3 times before vanishing into the void. Why primes? Because mathematics is the only universal language a rock cannot count. A cloud of ice and dust cannot understand prime numbers. Only a mind can do that. The implications are chilling. If 3I Atlas is capable of transmitting a signal of that magnitude, it implies that the object is not a passive visitor. It is an active participant. It suggests that the object is powered. Consider the blue shift anomaly. As the object approached the sun, its spectral signature, the light bouncing off its surface, shifted dramatically towards the blue end of the spectrum. Mainstream articles will tell you this indicates the presence of specific carbon chains, C2, and C3 molecules burning off. That is the safe explanation. That is the lie. The truth, according to leaked analyses from the European Southern Observatory, is that the blue shift matches the signature of high-energy ionization caused by an electromagnetic drive system coming online. The object wasn't just burning, it was charging. It used the immense gravity well of our sun as a slingshot, and it used the intense solar radiation as a battery charger. It dipped into the fire, drank the energy it needed to power its transmitter, screamed its message into the dark, and then accelerated. This acceleration is the smoking gun, a natural comet. Slows down as it leaves the sun's gravity. 3I Atlas is speeding up. It is gaining velocity without any visible means of propulsion, no rocket exhaust, no massive gas jets, just a silent, impossible push that is driving it out of our system faster than it arrived. It is running away, and it is taking the data it collected about us with it. Let's deepen the mystery. We need to talk about Oumuamua. In 2017, Oumuamua passed through our system. It was weird. It was shaped like a cigar. It tumbled. It accelerated slightly. Professor Avi Loeb from Harvard was ridiculed for suggesting it was artificial. He called it a scout, a light sail, perhaps broken, drifting on the stellar winds. If Oumuamua was a broken scout, 3I Atlas is the fully operational mothership. Comparing the two objects reveals a terrifying pattern. Oumuamua was passive. It didn't emit signals. It didn't react to the sun violently. It was stealthy. It came in, looked, and left. 8 years later, Atlas arrives. It is 10 times more massive. It is chemically different. And crucially, it is interactive. This looks like a military protocol. First, you send a drone to map the territory. The drone confirms the presence of a biosphere, Earth. It confirms the presence of technology, our radio waves. It sends a low-power confirmation back to the source. Then the source sends a heavier unit, a unit capable of deep scan analysis and high-power transmission. 3I Atlas has tasted our solar wind. The instruments on board, if we assume it is a probe, have analyzed the isotopic composition of our star. They have analyzed the atmosphere of Jupiter and Earth. They know exactly how developed we are. They know we have split the atom. They know we have barely left our own moon. They know we are vulnerable. And we missed the most critical piece of evidence because we were looking from the wrong angle. We were looking from Earth, blinded by the sun. But we have eyes on Mars. The Perseverance Rover and the Curiosity Rover, sitting in the red dust of Mars, had a side view of the event. They weren't blinded. The images they captured are grainy, low-resolution black and white photos that NASA has not officially released, but descriptions of these images have circulated in the exobiology community. They describe the object not as a fuzzy ball of gas, but as a rigid structure. The coma, the cloud around it, was asymmetrical. In nature, gas expands in a sphere. In the Mars photos, the gas was streaming exclusively from the rear of the object, focused into a tight cone. That is not sublimation. That is thrust. That is an exhaust plume from a thermal nuclear engine or an ion drive of immense scale. The object inside the cloud appeared elongated, metallic, and incredibly smooth. Asteroids are pockmarked with craters from billions of years of collisions. 3I Atlas appears to have a hull that is self-repairing or incredibly resistant to impact. Furthermore, the trajectory analysis shows that 3I Atlas made a course correction. It wasn't a large turn, it was a micro adjustment, a change in vector of less than 0.01 degrees. But at cosmic speeds, a change that small is the difference between missing a target star system by light years or hitting it directly. Gravity doesn't make micro adjustments. Intelligence does. The question everyone is asking is, where is it going? The signal pointed to Lyra. The trajectory points to Lyra. Everything about this object is focused on that one specific patch of sky. What is out there? Is it a listening post? Is it a relay station? Or is it the home world of the architects who built this machine? This brings us to the most terrifying concept in astrosociology, the dark forest theory. For decades, we've asked the Fermi paradox. Where is everybody? If the universe is old and vast, it should be teeming with life. We should see empires spanning the stars. We should hear their radio chatter, but we hear nothing. Just silence. The dark forest theory suggests that the universe is not empty. It is full, but it is full of hunters hiding in the trees. Every civilization is a hunter armed with a gun, creeping through the forest. The moment a hunter reveals his position, by making noise, by lighting a fire, by sending a radio signal, he becomes a target. Other hunters will eliminate him, not out of malice, but out of survival. If you see another civilization, you cannot know if they are friendly. You cannot trust them. The safest option is to destroy them before they can destroy you. Humanity has been foolish. We are the child in the forest who has lit a bonfire and is screaming at the top of his lungs. We have broadcast our location for 100 years. And now, something is finally noticed. 3I Atlas is the scout that found the bonfire. It didn't attack us. It didn't need to. Its job was simply to verify the coordinates, to confirm that the noise was coming from a planet capable of supporting life. The signal it sent at perihelion was the coordinate lock. It was the target acquired message. The silence that followed the signal is even worse than the signal itself. If they were friendly, why didn't they say hello? Why didn't they slow down? Why didn't they enter orbit and initiate contact? They ignored us. They treated us like we treat an anthill when we are building a highway. We don't talk to the ants. We don't ask for their permission. We just survey the land and send the data to the engineers. 3I Atlas ignored our attempts to ping it with radar. It ignored our radio waves. It was indifferent to our existence, except as data points to be collected. That indifference is the hallmark of a superior intelligence dealing with a primitive one. We are projecting our own human emotions onto this event. We want to believe in Star Trek. We want to believe in a federation of planets that is benevolent and wise. But look at our own history. When a technologically advanced civilization meets a primitive one on Earth, it rarely ends well for the primitive one. It ends in colonization. It ends in resource extraction. It ends in extinction. Why should the galaxy be any different? Evolution is driven by competition. The civilizations that survive long enough to build interstellar probes are the ones that are good at competing. They are the ones that are aggressive, expansive, and paranoid. 3I Atlas is a product of that paranoia. It is a hardened, shielded, stealthy observer, designed to survive in the hostile environment of deep space. Let's take a step back and look at the broader context of our search for extraterrestrial intelligence. This is not the first time we have been brushed by the unknown, but it is certainly the most tangible. In 1977, the WOW signal was detected by the Big Ear radio telescope. It was a strong, narrowband radio signal that bore all the hallmarks of artificial origin. It lasted 72 seconds. We looked for it again, but it was gone. It never repeated. For 50 years, we have wondered if that was a glitch or a greeting. But the difference between the WOW signal and 3I Atlas is physicality. The WOW signal was a ghost. It was just energy. 3I Atlas is matter. It is 33 billion tons of mass moving through our system. We can see it. We can measure its gravity. We can analyze its chemical composition. This makes it undeniably real in a way that a fleeting radio wave never could be. This object bridges the gap between theoretical astrobiology and hard reality. It forces us to confront the fact that our models of the universe are incomplete. We assume that interstellar travel is too difficult. We assume that the distances are too vast, the energy requirements too high. We tell ourselves that civilizations stay on their home planets because it's too hard to travel. 3i Atlas proves that we are wrong. Someone solved the energy problem. Someone solved the propulsion problem. Someone built a machine that can function for billions of years, drifting through the absolute zero of the void, bombarding by cosmic rays, and still wake up and perform a complex mission with perfect precision. The engineering capability required to build 3i Atlas is indistinguishable from magic to us. Think about the timeline. The object is estimated to be billions of years old. It might have been launched before the Earth even had oxygen in its atmosphere. It might have been traveling while dinosaurs walked our continents. It has seen stars be born and stars die. It has passed through nebulae and star clusters. It is a traveler from deep time. And in all that time, in all those billions of years, it happened to arrive here, now. Coincidence? Skeptics will say yes. They will say that in an infinite universe, unlikely events happen all the time. But the timing is suspicious. It arrived exactly when humanity achieved the ability to detect it. It arrived exactly when our radiosphere had expanded far enough to be detectable from light years away. If it had arrived 300 years ago, we would have seen it as a bright star, a comet without a tail. We would have recorded it in our almanacs and forgotten about it. We wouldn't have had the radio telescopes to hear the signal. We wouldn't have had the spectrometers to see the blue shift. Did it know that? Did it time its arrival? Or is the galaxy full of these probes, passing through all the time, and we only just built the eyes to see them? Maybe there's a network of these objects, a galactic highway of surveillance drones creating a net around the stars. Maybe we are constantly being watched, monitored, and cataloged by systems we cannot see, because they are disguised as rocks. 3i Atlas might just be the one that glitched, the one that revealed itself by being too active, too bright, too loud. As the object fades into the distance, crossing the orbit of Jupiter, then Saturn, then eventually passing the Kuiper Belt, it leaves us with a profound existential crisis. We are now living in a post-contact world, even if the governments won't admit it. We know they are out there. We know they have the technology to reach us. And we know they know where we are. The implications for our future are staggering. Should we stop broadcasting? Should we go silent? Should we try to build defenses? Or is it already too late? If the signal sent by 3i Atlas was a summons, then the clock has started ticking. We might have a decade. We might have a century. We might have a millennium. But something is coming. The probe has done its job. The data has been sent. The file on Earth has been updated in some alien database in the constellation of Lyra. What happens when that file is opened? We can only speculate. We can only look at the stars with a new sense of awe and a new sense of dread. The universe is no longer a lonely place. It is crowded. It is busy. And it is watching. As you go about your life tomorrow, as you go to work, as you spend time with your family, remember that there is a machine, a billion-year-old machine speeding away from us at 100,000 miles per hour, carrying the story of our existence to a civilization that might not have our best interests at heart. The silence of the night sky is not peace. It is the breath held before the plunge. The visitor has left the building, but it has left the door unlocked. And now we wait. We wait in the dark forest, listening for the sound of snapping twigs, wondering if the next visitor will be just another probe or the hunter itself. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and keep your eyes on the skies, because we are not alone, and we never were.